also a child. Statistics show that 40% of the offenders who sexually assault children under age 6 are juveniles themselves, under the age of 18. But perhaps most disturbing, among rape victims less than 12 years of age, 90% of the children knew the offender.
Stranger danger is really a myth. Most overwhelmingly, most people who sexually abuse children are known to that child and have developed a relationship with that child.
It's a complex issue in a complex field, and it's an area of abuse that needs to be reported to authorities and investigated by professionals.
People need to understand that reporting doesn't mean that there's going to be a charge, doesn't mean that there's going to be a trial, doesn't mean that the child's going to be taken out of the home. It means there's going to be an investigation.
The other form of child abuse still left to discuss is emotional abuse. This abuse is the attack of a child's self-confidence and self-esteem, and it's often the most difficult to detect.
Unlike physical abuse or sexual abuse, there are no signs, there are no symptoms, there's nothing to look at. There are no bruises, although people who have been emotionally abused will say that those invisible bruises last a lifetime.
Go away! What's wrong with you? How many times do I have to tell you? Don't you ever get it right? You're never going to change.
Emotional abuse is often accompanied by physical abuse or neglect. But even if the child's appearance is normal, his behavior may reflect the tragedy of emotional abuse. He or she may be extremely shy or difficult to get along with, argumentative, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, submissive, or exceptionally anxious to please. He or she may have nightmares, difficulty in social situations, difficulty in school, and more than likely have an extreme feeling of poor self-esteem.
Over time, these children are likely to develop what we call learned helplessness. Nothing that they do is good enough. They never seem to be able to accomplish anything correctly. They're always ridiculed, they're always put down. After a while, when a child begins to feel they're worthless, they can't do anything very well, they'll stop trying.
With emotional abuse, learning and social development often suffers noticeably. In later years, abused children may be among those who turn to drugs and other destructive behaviors. Emotionally abused children have been told so often that they are worthless and unlovable that they believe it themselves.
There really isn't anything good that comes from any kind of abuse, but the emotional scars seem to last a lifetime.
You should know that approximately 3 million child abuse reports are made each year. That means child abuse, on average, is reported every 10 seconds. But there is so much more reporting that needs to be done. A recent national report indicated that the actual incidences of child abuse and neglect are 3 times greater than the number of cases that are called in. And what's most ironic is that 9 in 10 Americans surveyed say they regard child abuse as a serious problem. Yet only 1 in 3 reported abuse when confronted with an actual situation.
Many people are reluctant to report for a number of reasons. They don't want to get involved. They're not sure whether this is physical or sexual abuse. And they're worried, thirdly, about any civil liability. If they report and this is untrue, could someone come back and sue them for damaging their reputation?
And although laws may differ from state to state, most states have immunity or shield laws for people who report suspected cases of child abuse, as long as they report without malice and with the child's best interest at heart. Reports can be made anonymously, or the reporter may remain anonymous to the abusive adult while being known to the authorities. And since statistics show that child abuse and neglect may adversely affect a child's learning potential, educators have an added responsibility to report because they are in a position to observe children over long periods of time. Because teachers have so much contact with the kids, they really are one of the most important categories of reporters, and they should take their responsibility seriously. Now, if you suspect a child is the victim of any form of abuse, ask the child to tell you, in his or her own words, what happened.
We as professionals don't ever want to put a situation in a child's mind. If something happened to that child, we need the child to tell us what happened.
If you suspect abuse is taking place, call or visit your local child protection agency. Their numbers are in the phone book. or you can ask the operator. And if you have difficulty finding a child protective agency in your area, call your local law enforcement agency. And remember, a report is not an accusation, but a request that child protective agencies investigate a suspicious situation.
They're the only ones that have the authority to really investigate a situation and find out whether indeed the things that are going on in that home are posing immediate danger to that child.
And what should you do if you're just not quite sure if what you are seeing is a form of child abuse?
If we follow our gut level feeling, a lot of times we'll be on target, because it's behavior that just makes you feel queasy. That isn't right. Something says this isn't a good thing.
Sometimes children who claim to be victims recant, and sometimes child protective agencies find situations are not actually abusive. But don't be discouraged if your attempts seem worthless. Report again and again as necessary. After all, children's lives are at stake here. Right now, at this moment, a child is being abused. This abuse will impact his or her life forever. Abused children will likely abuse others, so it's critical to stop the cycle of abuse. Laws alone are not enough. Intervention in child abuse cases begins with you, with all of us, the teacher, the neighbor, the relative, the friend, the acquaintance. Child abuse will not go away. Everyone must get involved. By recognizing abuse, reporting it, and getting treatment for those who have already been victimized, we can turn hurt into hope. Child abuse. By seeing it, we can help stop it.